Hello and welcome to episode 359 of Sutton Impact Family Style. I'm Jason.
I'm Bill, and Jason, let's start off with Russell Wilson.
I mean, I think technically it seems like it, even according to ESPN, it is the biggest football story right now, right?
Well, it was the one that started everything else happening today.
Yeah.
And it was not, nobody thought that would be the first thing. They thought might be the last thing,
Yeah.
but it was actually the first thing.
And we kind of knew about it because he was visiting, he visited the Giants and the Steelers. And when you look what Russ wanted a team that wins. And, say what you will about Tomlin, but his team always has a 500 record. A team with some weapons. And the Steelers have weapons. And everything else, I think, just fell into place. And the Steelers are paying him $1.2 million right now for the entire season.
The Broncos are paying him
37 5, yeah.
Yeah, that's a bargain.
It's a bargain. And I was a big Justin Fields advocate, but I'll just say that the league doesn't seem to like Justin Fields, right?
No, I mean, yeah, we're not hearing any rumors, we're not hearing any stories.
No, and apparently the trade market is nothing where what they thought it was. And I thought if the Seagulls were giving up a third and a fourth or even a second, I thought that was a deal. But if the rest of the league thinks he's that bad, which apparently they might, and we talked about his contract before we got on the air, and he is going into his fourth year, which means you got to have him start this year, be good enough to pick up the fifth year option, and then pay him big money. And if you don't think he's that guy, you're not going to make that trade.
The other thing is the Bears have absolutely no leverage.
Yeah, because they're taking Caleb Williams.
And then that's it. Then you got to unload them because you can't have them there.
Yeah, and then you started looking, and it looked like
just sit back and wait till that happens now.
Yeah. So then we're down to Baker, who was definitely going to go back to Tampa. Kirk Cousins seems like he was going to either Atlanta, where he did sign, and we'll talk about that in a minute, or staying in Minnesota. And then you basically had Gardner Minshew, who, I don't think Gardner Minshew's your long-term starter. He's now in Vegas. So, I mean, getting Russ for a one-year deal is not a bad deal, right?
No, not at all. But what it does is it destroys Kenny Pickett. So if you had any hope for him, I think hope's gone.
Yeah, I think so. And like I said, I think the final nail in the coffin is the guy advocating most for Russell Wilson signing was Cam Hayward, who only has probably 2, maybe 3 seasons total left, maybe even 1. And he didn't want it.
Got 1 or 2.
Yeah, and he wanted a guy that was he was fighting for Russell Wilson to be their new quarterback because he wanted somebody that could lead them to the potentially lead. I mean, Russell Wilson's been to 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah, I mean, they want somebody. They got to win now.
And if you look at his stats over the last 3 seasons, he had 40 touchdowns in one of those seasons, over 20 and 20, and less than 5 picks in the other 2. And then he had the one bad season in 2023 or 2022. I can't remember which one it was. And most of the narrative around Russ has just been, diminished skills going into his 13th year, and that he's nobody's favorite person to hang out with, right?
Yeah, I'd say it's accurate. I think even more of that.
Yeah. Because I think if Russ was, a guy people liked and wasn't, because it seems like his coaches have not liked him. Clearly, Sean Payton did not like him. Pete Carroll seemed like he grew tired of him. His former teammates seemed to dislike him quite a bit, but he does ball out. And I will say, as a Steeler fan, I have more hope with Russell Wilson on the team than I did with just Kenny Pickett.
No question.
So,
hey, it's worth the money.
It's worth the money.
But people. The other school of thought is now that he's gonna, you're gonna roll the dice on this, but what you're really is delaying the inevitable. You're gonna have to find a quarterback.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And Kenny Pickett's not going to be that long-term quarterback.
I mean,
so
Russ.
You're going to find another one and start over again.
Yeah, Russ is a guy that takes care of himself. So if Russ works out, I could see giving him a 2 or 3 year deal after this season, right? If he
still get paid by the Broncos for year 2, but he could be a free agent.
Yeah.
If he thinks it's going to be to his advantage, but if he has a good year, then maybe he stays. So
no, the Broncos are not paying him in year 2. At least according to NFL salary cap. That'll count as a dead cap hit, but they don't have to pay his salary, so he will be he'll be an outright free agent. But if they win 11 or 12 games and win a playoff game, which would be the first time they've done it in quite a while, like I could see them signing Russ up for 2 and 80 or something with some guarantees while they find the new quarterback who could be in this year's draft for all we know, right?
For all we know.
I guess let's stick quarterbacks. What do you think of Kirk Cousins to the Falcons?
I think he was tired of Minnesota. I think his wife's from Georgia. He's got some. I think the Falcons have some nice weapons. It's just been underutilized.
They do.
They got a new coach, new system, with new offensive coordinator. Everybody said that's what they thought was going to happen, and that's exactly what happened.
And I would say, on a side note, speaking of those players, now obviously Bijan Robinson is on everybody's fantasy team in Dynasty, and so is Drake London. But Kyle Pitts, maybe that's a sneaky go grab that guy, whose value has been severely diminished over the years. But Kirk Cousins has made so much money at quarterback. He just got a 4-year, $180 million deal with $100 guaranteed, which is, it's just pretty crazy. That's all.
We'll see what he does.
And as we mentioned, Gardner Minshew, Baker re-signed with the Buccaneers, and Gardner Minshew is now a Vegas Raider. And I think that's all the quarterbacks we have.
And now we got Jimmy G and Mason and Josh Fields looking for jobs.
Yeah.
Along with, I think, Sam Darnold looking for a job too.
I assume Sam Darnold's always looking for a job. And I know Russ and the Zach Wilson, he has permission to seek a trade. Not that anybody would probably, Mac Jones also was traded for a 6th-round pick to the Jacksonville Jaguars to presumably back up Trevor Lawrence. Which just shows you how hard it is drafting a 1st-round pick, right?
Yeah.
Trey Lance is a backup in Dallas who was a top 10 pick. Justin Fields, apparently nobody wants to trade for him. Mac Jones went for a 6th-round pick. Presumably Kenny Pickett is slowly being, phased out for Russell Wilson. Zach Wilson has already been, torched. I think it's over 70% of 1st-round picks flame out or bust, however you want to, depending on how you want to say it, right?
Well, let's go running back. Let's talk about Saquon Barkley going to the Eagles.
Yeah.
That was, I was kind of thinking he was going to go to Dallas, but I know Dallas has a lot of cap problems.
Now, to be fair, Swift played really well for Philadelphia last year, right?
He did, yeah.
I think Saquon Barkley's an upgrade over almost every running back in football. Almost, not all of them, but he's phenomenal. When he's healthy, he's as good as there is, running, passing, blocking, you name it. But and that's a nice pick for the Eagles, and it looks good, and they're showing, the Twitter pics of here's all our weapons together, but the running back was definitely not the reason the Eagles didn't win the Super Bowl or didn't go as far as they wanted to go last year.
No, they were fine.
Yeah.
But this is an upgrade, gives them some more options in the offense. So we'll see.
Last year,
with the new coordinators and everything else they got to hire, so we'll see.
Yeah, and they need those 2 defensive tackles from Georgia to start playing like they did in college, not like they did in the pros last year. Because it was them inability to rush the passer and stop the run at the end of the year that really hurt them. And I think those are most of the big names that have moved, right? Oh, Josh Jacobs is now a Green Bay Packer. And Aaron Jones.
And I think that's a big get because the Packers were really playing well for the middle of the year on last year.
Oh, yeah.
They're a very young team. They've got a bright future. They could dominate. They're going to be fighting with the Lions for that division.
And they cut Aaron Jones to get Josh Jacobs. But Josh Jacobs is only 26. You look at all his advanced stats, they're pretty incredible. And he's missed most of last year. So you got a pretty fresh running back in that situation. All those receivers, that's a really nice team they built up in Green Bay.
Who signed Pollard?
Detroit. No, not Detroit.
No, not Detroit.
He's not. They're not showing him on the tracker for some reason because I got the tracker going while we're podcasting, so we can be up to date if anything happens.
I thought he signed with somebody today.
He did.
3 years.
He definitely did. And then in other good Steeler news, T. Higgins officially has asked for a trade. He does not want to play on the franchise tag. But, as people have pointed out that I've seen on TV today, I'll just give them credit because it's not our thought, but this was my thought anyway, is that as good as T. Higgins is, if you trade for T. Higgins, they're going to ask for a premium draft pick, right? And then you're going to have to pay T. Higgins, who's already going to be making over $20 million a year on the franchise tag. You're going to have to pay him like a number one wide receiver. And there are so many good receivers coming out in the draft. You kind of almost could see the way we've devalued running backs happening to receivers at some point. And again, if you're elite, if you're Jamar Chase, if you're Justin Jefferson, you're not going to have to worry about it. But if you're, maybe that next level down, maybe some of that money's just not going to be there for you.
Yeah, and the Bengals have a bunch of guys to sign, but they got a lot of money to sign with. But they have a lot of guys to sign.
They definitely do. So it's this is between free agency and the draft, and I think more than any other sport, the NFL gives every team hope, right?
Yeah, I mean, you get, there's no lottery. I mean, if you're bad, you're going to get the number one pick.
Yeah. Like, if you're the Bears fan, you just went through it 3 years ago and you got Justin Fields, and then you traded away instead of getting, Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud last year, you traded that pick away, but now you're looking at Caleb Williams. I mean, you're getting, every year it's like, we're doing it again. Here it comes again.
Yeah, maybe they'll get it right this time. But that could be a really interesting division in 2 years.
It could. It really, really could.
Because, and Minnesota's going to be probably broken apart.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens in Minnesota. I mean, Jefferson's not going to be happy right now.
No, and you drafted Addison last year, who looked really good when Justin Jefferson was out. So maybe if you're Minnesota, you figure I got the tight end. I don't have the quarterback anymore. Maybe I trade Justin Jefferson for an absolute haul and reset my situation, right?
Or now you're going to see what you can get in the draft. You might go for the rookie quarterback now.
Yeah, I think you're going to want to. And again, I don't know if Justin Fields of Minnesota, unless Minnesota offered them something. I think Minnesota would have to offer more than most teams to get Justin Fields.
I don't think so. I think nobody's going to offer much at all because they have to get rid of him. And so when you have to get rid of somebody, you don't have any leverage.
Yeah, but I mean, if you had to get rid of somebody who people
you don't want to let him go in your division,
right?
You want to let him go. So that's what's going to come down to.
It's hard to imagine.
I don't think he's the answer for them. I don't think. I don't think that's what they want.
And again, it's coming, a fan of a desperate quarterback needy team. I was excited for him, but it seems like nobody in the league. If you thought he could be the guy, right? If you thought he could be a top 10, top 12 quarterback, which is what you need to compete for a Super Bowl, I think he would have already been traded if people thought that's what he was, right?
Well, we don't know if there were any offers or not. We just know he hasn't moved.
No, but I mean, like I'm saying, if you thought Justin Fields was going to be, like I said, a potential top 10 quarterback. Now, Mahomes is another level. We won't even discuss him. But if you thought he could be, competing with a Josh Allen, competing with a Jalen Hurts as far as that level of quarterback goes, you would give up a second-round pick in a heartbeat because you're like, for a second-round pick, we're getting our guy. Which tells me nobody...
But if you thought he could compete at that level, you would take the number one pick and trade it and spend it on get a couple more picks and keep the guy.
Which tells me nobody thinks he can be the guy, which is sad.
They don't think he's that level.
Yeah. Which is a real bummer.
Yeah.
And if any other free agents come in that are exciting, I'll do a special break the pod and I'll pop over. We'll talk about it. But
okay.
I guess for now we can move on. You want to talk some hoops?
I want to talk women's hoops. I watched Tennessee and South Carolina, and then I watched South Carolina and LSU. Both were great games. I mean, Tennessee was winning, and 6'7", who had never shot a three-pointer and shot one other three-pointer in her career. They left her wide open, and she hit a three-pointer, banked it in, and they won the game. They beat Tennessee. And Dawn Staley, the coach, said, I wouldn't have guarded her either, and nobody would. I mean, you had other shot makers that were going to could shoot a three-pointer. You had them shut down. You left this girl open at the top of the circle for the three-pointer. What are the odds that she's going to make catch it, shoot it, make it with 1.1 seconds?
And I'm assuming she did not call bank, right?
All bank.
Did she call glass or no? No, probably not.
No.
Okay.
All bank. She let it go and it hit the glass and went right in 1.1 second. That was it. Yeah. And then yesterday we had the unfortunate, in hard foul, and then shouting and arguing on the sideline, and then the same girl, Camilla, pushes this girl down and gets ejected, and then the bench is empty, and then the rule is if you empty the bench,
Yeah.
you're out of the game. So South Carolina had 6 players to finish the game with. LSU had 5.
Yeah, that's nuts.
And then Camilla, the 6'7" girl, suspended for the first tournament game, first round of March Madness. But if you're going to be the number 1 seed, you're going to play number 64, and I think you're probably okay.
I think you're probably okay.
Yeah, but really, really, I mean, good games. I think it's going to be a great women's tournament this year. I really do.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of teams that can, South Carolina's beatable. I mean, they could have lost both of these games, but they still finished the year undefeated. They know how to win.
Yeah, and you have people like I said, we talked about the men's earlier. Like, there's not a consensus top 10 men's college basketball player in the draft, whereas the women, you have Caitlin Clark, who is generational talent, right?
Yep.
And people know the LSU girls, and people. I mean, they have national commercials, so they have, you got the people recognize, and that's what people want to watch. Is people know. So that obviously helps a lot.
Well,
too.
the number 1 seed on the men's side is going to be Houston.
Yeah.
And they won the Big 12, and they whooped Kansas by 30 points in the last regular season game. So we'll see what happens here. I mean, you win the regular season in their first year in the Big 12. They've got a good team. They've been in top 5 all year. And I think your top 4 seeds are probably going to be UConn, Houston, Tennessee or Alabama probably, and maybe North Carolina.
Yeah.
Maybe Arizona. I mean, there's probably 6 or 7 teams that could be the top seeds. But I think the men's tournament is wide open.
Agreed. We do have some breaking news. The Giants traded for Brian Burns from Carolina, the pass rusher. They gave up a second and a fifth, and then the Giants signed him to a 5-year, $150 million deal with $90 million guaranteed. So congrats to the Burns family. You just got paid.
Yeah, and the Giants are one of those teams that has to perform.
They are. And I think if you're the Panthers, as good as Brian Burns is, you don't have to pay him $150 million, and now you got another second, another fifth to try and put some pieces around. Who am I thinking? Who's the Chinese quarterback? I can't remember already.
Oh, Bryce.
Bryce Young, yeah. You gotta start putting some pieces around that guy to help him win. So, and make him look good, if that's possible.
Well, dipping back to the Giants now. If you're the Giants, you married Daniel Jones, or you taking a quarterback?
I think the problem is you're at 6, right? So you're either taking J.J. McCarthy, who is the 21-year-old Michigan quarterback who people feel like needs a little seasoning, right? From what I've seen from
Daniel Jones 2.0, actually.
Yeah, from what I've seen from the scouts, people love him on the chalkboard and they like his physical skill set. But he's a guy they wouldn't mind, having a veteran president, like sort of an Aaron Rodgers mentor, Patrick Mahomes, at least give him a year on the bench situation. And if you're the Giants, that's a tough ask if your other quarterback is Daniel Jones. And then it doesn't seem like, the Bears are taking Caleb Williams. I think the Commanders are definitely taking a quarterback, and I think it's going to be Jalen Daniels. And then the Patriots just traded away their starting quarterback, Mac Jones. So it's hard to imagine they're not taking Drake May, right?
Yeah, those 3 guys are going 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, and if you're the Giants, like, how much would you give up just to get into that spot?
Or do you have enough to even get in that spot?
Right, because you just traded away your second and fifth round pick for a pass rusher.
Yeah.
And again, I don't know who else is out there. I don't think Justin Fields is going to be your answer. Because he's sort of Daniel Jonesy. Yeah, I don't know what you do if you're the Giants.
You know what? That's an interesting thing. I think if I'm the Giants and I can get him for a 5th or 6th round pick, I'm going to take him.
Oh, for that, yeah. Like I said, if it gets into that, if the Bears are willing to let him go for that, which it seems like they're going to have to be, I'd be happy if the Steelers let a 5th round pick go for him. Just bring him into camp and see what you got. Because again, Russell Wilson's in his 13th year. Kenny Pickett doesn't look like he's the answer. So, I think if the price gets that low, I think you're going to have 30 teams that would be willing to touch him. If I'm the Chiefs, have him as my backup. Have him just run the football for 200 yards a game when Patrick Mahomes is out. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Interesting stuff, man. Interesting stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's all. That's the only new one. I mean, there's some big names out there, and it's Steeler fans. There's the Patrick Queens and the middle linebackers and some other people that we're pretty excited for. So.
So it's only the first day, so there's a lot of stuff going on.
I know, it's very exciting. And this is where all the guys on their phone call. Every time you show Schefter on TV, he's taking phone calls and putting his finger up, being like, "I just heard."
Well, I get to watch O'Neal Cruz, the Pirates' 6'7" shortstop, hit 2 bombs yesterday. So I'm glad he's healthy, and I'm glad he's playing well. And I'm looking forward. I'm going to bet the Pirates are going to beat the over is 75. I'm going to bet $100 on the fact they beat the over, and I actually think they'll win 82 or 83 games.
It'd be nice to see, because again,
Yep.
Pittsburgh is a city that they will definitely support you if you're a good team, and that's a beautiful park, and it's great to be there in the sun. It's all right there for them, right?
Yeah, and and the interest is going to be there because the Penguins are going to be down for a while now.
Oh yeah. I do. I mean, I always liked going back to when we were in Massachusetts and Cam Neely, who was a long time Boston Bruin, like a lifer, someone you could never imagine playing another uniform. But then he went to Colorado, won that cup with the Avalanche, and how happy people were in Boston for him. And I would be that way for Crosby, Malkin, and anybody else, because I just, after you give up on Gunsel, I just don't know where you go from here. Right?
Well, they were trying to get the pieces so that Malkin and Sid could have another shot.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's going to work out or not.
But it's just hard to imagine that Gunsel wouldn't have been he's good. He's really, really good.
Yeah.
It's just hard to imagine he wouldn't have been part of that, I guess.
All right, Jason, I got a story for you.
Let's hear it.
Paul versus Tyson.
Oh. Mike Tyson's in his 50s now, right?
57, I think.
57. He's fully medicated at this point. Not that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying, he's not the Mike Tyson he was. And I know people love to hate the Paul brothers, but they're really good athletes. And they can swing it. I honestly don't know.
Would you pay to watch it?
Well, I don't have to. I have Netflix. Well, I guess I technically have already paid, right? I guess by
That's
that.
right. Yeah, I mean, it's free on that. That's right. It's free on Netflix.
Yeah, which is incredible. Netflix bought WWE, right? And they're going to start showing WWE, I think 2024, 2025, I think, right?
No, you'd know before I would.
Yeah, and now they bought, I mean, this is not a box. I mean, this is sort of a spectacle more so than an exciting match, right? Because it's,
Yeah, I would say.
But I mean, because I have Netflix, if I'm home, I'm tuning in and watching that live on Netflix, which is something I never watch. Netflix, I don't, Netflix is something you just turn on, you flick on every couple of days and see what's new, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if I know, and while we're on the business, because like I said, I think Netflix is trying to move more into the live thing.
Yeah.
And the one interesting thing that came out of that business call on them purchasing the WWE Monday Night show is it just said Netflix has purchased WWE Raw. They never mentioned Monday Night Raw. And people have been saying for years, why are you putting your sport on Monday night when you have 17 NFL Monday Night Football games? Why you cutting 17 weeks out of your year where part of your audience is probably a football fan that also likes professional wrestling, right? There's probably some Venn diagram stuff of that.
Sure.
And Netflix could make it, Raw every Wednesday night and try to make it, an event again. I don't know. I'm excited for it. And do you think do you think it's going to be a real fight between Tyson and Paul, or do you think it's going to be like a?
I don't anticipate much at all.
Because I kind of worry that it's going to be like I don't know, two people just sort of swinging around at each other, I guess, but not really. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I don't anticipate anything good at all. But, it's a spectacle, and that's what people like.
They do. Sadly, I think they really, really do.
Well, let's change gears a little bit. You're a film guy.
Yeah.
Talk about the Academy Awards last night. You got any comments?
Um. Well, I don't know how much these
Other
are.
than John Cena's got a great body, and he looks super in nude.
He does. He's a good looking dude. I mean, I don't like the way Oscars are decided. Like they interview random. Like there's an Oscar voter that said she didn't think Downey had the best performance, but she voted on him because at the party he was super nice to her. And that art. I mean, you look at the history of the Oscars, and even giving awards to film is silly. But I mean, in every year there's going to be people that deserve to win and people that didn't win. I don't really know how to say it. It's just it is what it is. But I saw all the movies this year.
I'm shocked that Killers of the Flower Moon didn't win anything major.
Yeah, I thought so too. I honestly did think that was going to happen. So
I thought she would win Best Actress.
that seemed like a no-brainer because she was excellent in the movie, and just the story behind it just seemed like
Yep.
a perfect blend of the two things. But it did not happen. So.
No.
And again, I was a little shocked because it seemed like this makes perfect sense. And
I thought Jimmy Kimmel did a nice job, though.
he's been a really good host. I think this is his fifth or sixth time hosting at this point.
Yeah. I thought, whenever he mentioned that Barbie was now a political, a movie projecting women as a power,
Yeah.
and everybody applauded, and he called him out for applauding. He goes, "Well, you all are the ones that didn't vote for her to be in the Best Director thing, so this is on you. So don't just clap now." And he called him out for it.
Yeah. And I will say, when you think about what whether you enjoyed Barbie the story or not, like the directing of that movie and everything else was spectacular. Like she created a
agree.
world,
Yeah.
and like I said, you can not like the content or the story, but if you're doing it from a directing standpoint, like she did unique things as a director in that film.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't just cut and paste. I mean, a lot of directing is cutting and pasting. I've worked in the industry with a lot of directors. Some of them are really talented and really good, and a lot of them just come in and just do exactly what's on the page, which you could have a computer do for the most part. And I thought she probably deserved a little bit more than she got.
Yeah, I thought Short Trip. I thought Ryan Gosling. That was a spectacular video number that they did last night.
Yeah.
It was a lot of production.
Oh yeah, he was great. Yeah. Was there anything about the Oscars you thought, should have been given? You think anything besides Flower Moon? You okay with everything else?
Well, I haven't seen Oppenheimer, but I guess I need to see it now because obviously everybody loved it.
It's really well done. It is a long 3 hours, but it's the perfect movie of like, it has a ton of recognizable names, even in smaller parts like Matt Damon, right? So there's lots of people for the average viewer to be like, oh, I know that person. It's historic. It was Fincher. It's got all the pieces of an Oscar movie mixed with a little extra, if you will.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to have to watch that. I did enjoy when Jimmy Kimmel actually read Trump's tweet online. I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah, it's very solid. It was good. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I wish I had more to say, but I just, I don't really have a lot to say on that one.
Well, I'm going to go see Oppenheimer for sure.
It's on Peacock currently.
Yeah, I can watch it anytime.
Yeah.
So I will do that this weekend probably.
And the Emma Stone movie is worth watching, and it's on Hulu right now. If you haven't seen that.
What's it called? Poor Things?
Poor Things. And that's Yurgo's movie, and he does some weird stuff, and I will say, like, sometimes I feel like he he does a little just shock value more so than substance from time to time. But he's really, really good. So,
I think the other movie I want to watch was it After the Fall?
yeah.
I think I'm going to watch that one.
Okay.
That looked interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of good out there. Well, I guess we should roll into our entertainment. What are you watching?
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah. And
Oh.
I guess I need to watch the Godzilla movie, right? The one that won the
I can't
special
wait to
effects
watch that.
awards.
Yeah. They've said it's fantastic, and then you look at what he did with that budget, and, you know, because in both movies and games right now, people are debating the long-term sustainability of $200 blockbusters, $200 million blockbusters. That the costs need to come down. So when you look at somebody
I
like
like how they
you,
all walked up on stage with a Godzilla last night. That was kind of fun.
yeah. But the fact that they were able to, he was able to do that with that movie is pretty incredible. What he's done with that budget.
Yeah.
So,
Have you seen it?
I have not seen it yet. I really
Okay.
want to see it. I just have not had a chance to watch it as of yet.
I'm gonna have to see that one. That looked pretty amazing. All right, so entertainment. What do you got?
I finished the show you're watching.
Death and Other Details.
Death and Other Details. And for the most part, I enjoyed it. I thought it kind of ended okay, but I mean, it's a very fun watch, I would say. I talked to Mom about it. She seemed to say you guys were enjoying it for the most part.
Yeah, it's Knives Out to me.
Yeah. It's a 10 episode Knives Out.
To me, it doesn't need that many red herrings, but Mom likes it, so
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it though. I like the acting. I think it's the plots are good. It's good.
Yeah.
It's enjoyable.
Yeah, it's a well done Knives Out TV show, if that's what if you're looking for something like that. And the nice thing is, I mean, I have seen it all the way through, and then Mom did some digging online and found out that they do have their goal, which I think is pretty cool. Did she tell you what they were trying to do?
Yeah, another famous detective.
Right. So let's
create that thing. Yeah.
try to do one in a Sherlock Holmes style as opposed to the Agatha Christie style, and have multiple members of the cast continue forward, but change the style of the detective show, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, I'd probably enjoy it more if it was a period piece.
Yeah, I initially it took me a second because they're on. This isn't a spoiler, but they're on a recreation of an old 1930s boat, 20s boat.
Yeah, an unbelievable luxury line.
An unbelievable luxury lot where, and at first I thought, I was like, is this in the past? And then I saw the cell phone. I was like, oh, this is clearly not in the past.
No.
So it was slightly confusing for about 2 seconds.
Well, I've seen a couple trailers of things you and I have talked about that look pretty good coming out. I'll watch M. Night Shyamalan's Daughter's movie when it comes out.
Yeah. What is the movie we texted about the other day? The new A24 horror movie.
Conversation with the Devil, something like that.
Yeah. If you haven't seen the trailer for our audience, listen, go watch Conversations with the Devil. It looks like a very unique, cool horror movie.
Yeah, it looks really cool. It's interesting, really interesting premise.
Yes. And it's getting really good early buzz and reviews. So that's obviously a great sign, too.
Yeah.
And then Bob's Burgers is back new, and it's phenomenal. In case you don't watch Bob's Burgers, that's another thing I've been watching, catching up on. And we like to have a sitcom to unwind to. Have you ever watched The Goldbergs?
Yeah.
I kind of like it. That mom is insane.
Yeah, she is. She is. Yeah.
And that actress
She's the stereotypical Jewish mother.
Yes, and the actress who's from Reno 911 is what I know her from. She's really good in that role. And then the kind of cool thing about that show, which made us like it a little bit more, is that he apparently had access to all the video cassettes he could ever want and a movie camera from the time he was like 6 years old.
Yeah.
And was filming
So,
literally.
I mean, there's always something relatable that he really did.
Yeah, and they show you the actual VHS film at the end, and it's like, just it's pretty crazy.
Well, I like having the ones to escape to too, but I have a taping, Leave It to Beaver, from the late 50s and early 60s, and it's just a hoot to see what we thought about then in society, what the roles were, how things were decided, what it was like to be in school. It's a hoot. So I've been watching one or two of those every day.
Now, when we think back to that time, when they would say things like, Ward, aren't you being a little hard on the beaver? Did they know what they were doing when they wrote that? The,
No,
the double entendre, that was just, it just was what it was.
it just was what it was.
Okay.
But, the characters, and it's just really entertaining. And it's a lot of real life things that happen. It's just watching them happen in between 1957 and 1963, and then thinking about how that would happen now. That's really what's interesting.
True. Very true. Very, very true.
You got any food?
Do I have any food? I hope I have food. Well, this is just an oldie but a goodie, but I did go back to Popeyes again and I tried their new wings,
Oh, yeah.
and they're pretty tasty.
This is my time of year to go to Popeyes because this is tackle box time.
Yeah, well, they keep having. I kept ignoring it, but they had like on Uber Eats they would have a buy six wings get six wings free,
Uh-huh.
and we got the ghost pepper and the honey barbecue, and they were both really good. Like they're not the meatiest wings ever, but they're Popeyes flavors, and they're tasty. Go with their
Are they
biscuits.
boneless or are they bone in?
They're bone.
Okay.
Yeah, I prefer the bone in, because they do offer their chicken tenders or their whatever their chicken strip version is. I never found it to be that great, you know.
Yeah, probably dry.
Yeah, it doesn't hold up to the chicken, but and Popeyes is that crazy thing where like when Popeyes is good, which that is a debate because it's not always you're not always getting the best service and or whatever from Popeyes. It's really good. I know the
Okay.
late great Anthony Bourdain said it was one of his favorite like go to the airport, get some chicken and some mac and cheese from Popeyes because you know he loved it. It's really good.
Well, my food would be a couple things. I got Mandolas, which is the fast casual version of Carrabba's.
Oh yeah.
And it's really good. And they have phenomenal gelato. I had chocolate covered strawberry one time, and I had chocolate cherry the next time, and it was both of them are outstanding. They have pizza. We had pizza. We've had salad. We've had pasta. It's all been good.
Okay.
And you go to the counter and order, and you're sitting down and you're having your food within, I'd say 5-6 minutes.
Yeah, you can't beat that. That's really good.
Now, and here's my interesting food take to share with you. So going back to Gold Belly has jelly donuts from Cane's in Saugus, Massachusetts. All right.
All right.
So when we bought them, they were $69 for a dozen or $99 for 2 dozen. So we got 2 dozen. And then we froze about 8 or 9 of them. And they'll keep up to 3 months. All right.
Okay.
So the other night it was getting close to 3 months. So we had the donuts. They were outstanding. We put them in the air fryer for 2 minutes. The jelly wasn't, the jelly was still cool, but the donut was warm. It was outstanding.
Oh, I thought they might go like. Do you remember when you would get us Rich's Donuts in the frozen section
Yeah.
as kids?
Yep.
Yeah. If people don't know, Rich's Donuts was like I don't know. They don't have them anymore, do they?
I don't know, but I remember that jelly used to get like 9 million degrees.
Yeah. You would put them in the microwave, and normally, like if you were gonna eat one before school, you had to put it in the microwave, go shower, get ready, and even then you'd have to break it open and make sure the jelly wasn't gonna like destroy your tongue because it was like
Now,
lava.
these were outstanding.
Well, that's good to know. We actually have $100 gift card from Goldbelly we have not used yet. We've been debating as to what to get. People have good ideas. Tweet at us or thread us or message us, whatever. Do those things. I've been going back and forth on a few things, but have not pulled the trigger on anything yet.
We had a $100 gift card, and we bought soup.
Soup. Okay.
But I tell you, it's too much soup.
Too much soup.
Each bag of soup feeds 6 to 8 people. So we had 4 different flavors. We had broccoli cheddar, we had lobster bisque, we had chicken noodle, and we had baked potato.
Okay.
But you can't two people can. I would caution 2 people can't eat enough of the soup before they get tired of it. It's really good soup, but you can't eat it.
Okay. We did have Austin Eckler has officially signed because now that he's no Gus Edwards took his spot, he is signing with the Commanders.
Ooh, I'll be sure not to have Austin Eckler on my fantasy team next year.
Yeah, and he only got a 2-year deal worth $11.4 million, so I don't think they have a lot of faith in him being the guy either. But
No.
I mean, that's a former Pro Bowler who was quite good.
Yeah,
And
in
then
that offense, I don't know what he's going to do there.
And the Titans just signed the center from Denver, Lloyd Kusterberry, to 4 years.
That's the guy Steelers wanted.
Yeah, $50 million. That's several records for center, including signing bonus and fully guaranteed.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's pretty exciting, I would assume.
You're protecting Will Levis.
For now, yeah. And I think that's the
All
end
right,
of the...
everybody. Well, all the tournaments start this week.
Yeah.
All the college tournaments. So enjoy the college tournaments. And Selection Sunday is a week from yesterday. Get ready for your brackets.
And keep watching that free agent tracker because it's, your favorite team is probably going to sign somebody.
Yep.
All right, till next week.